A couple days ago, I made a video with regard to the new bill which is expected to be going to the Senate very soon. The immigration bill under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's administration. And the question I posed in that particular video was mainly about whether we expect the bill to be able to be passed or not. And so there are some improvements or some of the things which have been discussed under Biden's administration, which I wanted to share with you to show those kind of possibilities. And also, I wanted to give ahead 3 other things which are going to happen next week in the Senate or just overall in the Congress. One will be immigration bill, but secondly, the issue of the budget, or overall, I can simply say, to be specific, about the stimulus for the pandemic situation, and also the issue of impeachment, of the second impeachment of President Trump, the former President Trump, because those kind of things, they'll be going together almost at the same time. So why am I going to talk all these kind of things together? Because they relate to one another. Because one thing can affect the other in one way or another. So welcome everyone. Again, this is Ernest Boniface Makulilo EPM, and I welcome you today to my YouTube channel. Thank you everyone for your continued support to my YouTube channel. One thing I would like to ask from you is just to go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel, but also to like the video so that the YouTube algorithm can be able to be shared to so many other people to get this kind of information. Okay, so it's official now. The 2 senators, one from Republican, one from Democrats, have given the updates about the bill, or overall immigration bill, which is going to the Congress. And these are Republican Senator is Lindsey Graham, and then there is the Democratic Senator Durbin. So Lindsey Graham is the chair, is outgoing chair for the Judiciary Committee. So that means is the one they're responsible for this particular bill. And also the incoming one is Senator Durbin. So Lindsey and Durbin, they have worked before prior years, because these kind of immigration changes have been before, during the time of Biden as the vice president and the time of Barack Obama as the president back in the day. So they worked together, but it didn't pass through the Senate. Why didn't it pass through the previous time? Remember, at that particular time, the Republican was minority in the Senate, where the House of Representatives, Senate, and the presidents, they are all under Democrats as majority, or it was controlled. It didn't go through because of one thing. All Republicans voted against, and also in addition to that, even if they were minority, they got 5 votes from the Democrats to support Republican. So what does that mean for this particular time? What are we going to be afraid of changing, and what are they going to happen to this particular thing? So that is when I want people to understand how the other things will be related. The issue of stimulus check, the issue of impeachment, and how is all this also related to the overall immigration. So whether you like it or not, everything is politics. Is it politics in what sense? There are 2 major political parties. Yes, we have what we call independent. So there is Democrats and Republican. Each party has their own political priorities. These are the stance of Democrats, and these are stance for Republican. So they might be, let me give you an example. They might have 5 items, but the 5 items, number 1 in Republican, not necessarily to be number 1 for Democrats. So that's why you need it bipartisan. In order to pass a major legislation, you need it bipartisan support, so that you can get people also from other parties to be able to vote for. So you have to convince the other people to see that the item which is number 4 into their list of top 5 can be equal to number 1 of your area. When it comes to immigration, it's among the top, like if you mention top 2 items of Democratic Party, I can say immigration can be number 1 or number 2. But when it comes to Republican, immigration in sense of how the Democrats are perceived or operate in terms of immigration, giving support, kind of like even illegal immigrants not to be deported or to find a way to give citizenship to people who have been here not legally, Republican usually don't give that much support. But when it comes to the economy, then there is a difference. How Republican perceive in terms of what kind of support to the small business, what kind of support you need to give to the big companies. That is not a way the Democrats are doing. Democrats will be more about spending. That's why we see even this bill, it will be having that kind of complication when it comes to the stimulus, because already the first one is, I mean, the one Biden is going to put there is 1.9 trillion. So there is an issue of spending more, while Republicans are conservative on how you spend your money, national debt, and all other kind of things. So all these kind of things, they are related together. So don't try to treat all these kind of things, oh, immigration, oh, it's just like Biden is going to push this one. While you are going to push for immigration, you have to be able to compromise with the other parties on other legislations. That's why it is very important. So let me go first of all to give the composition of the Senate, because obviously in the House, most of the things will be able to pass because there is more than 10 Democrats in terms of number compared to Republican. So let's say that will be able to go. But when it comes to Senate, for those who do not know, Senate has 100 members. The 100 members means we have 50 states. Each state has 2 senators, regardless of the size. That is different from the House. California has so many members of the House of Representatives compared to Wyoming. But when it comes to the Senate, whether you're coming from Vermont, you are coming from California, how big it is, or how small, smaller states like whatever those countries, like New Hampshire, you all have 2 senators. That's why you make 100 senators. So when you vote on major on legislations or anything, it's supposed to be to have 51 votes. So why do we say Democrats are majority in the Senate? It's because there are 48 Democrats and there are 2 independent, but those independents are typical Democrats. So like Ben Sanders, so those make 50. When let's say it happens legislation and you have 50 votes for Republican and 50 votes for Democrats, it is a tie. At that particular point, the vice president will be able to cast another vote and the vote will be able to favor her party. So Kamala Harris is the vice president, who is the manager or overall chairperson, you can say, of the Senate, will vote to break the tie and will be going for Democrats. So that is in a normal scenario. But there are a few things you have to understand. Not all the time, all Democrats will be equal, will be having the same voice. As I gave the example, in 2008, 2010, when Biden administration, back in the time, they were in charge of both kind of the House and the Senate. But 5 senators from the Democrats voted against the major legislations in the immigration to support all Republicans who voted no. So that is something you need to understand. That's number 1. Number 2, you have to understand again. Now, Democrats, senators are very, very powerful because they know if one Democrat is going to vote against legislation or proposal of Biden, you have to go to convince that person. You have to beg that person to vote for yes. So in order to beg for that, you have even to promise to give something to that particular state. What does that mean? So that takes me to the other point. Let's go to the issue of stimulus. Up to now, before everything else, when Biden said he's going to add $1,600 US to each individual, one senator who is Democratic already said is against that. I think it's Senator Johnson, if not mistaken. He said he's against that and he's going to vote no. So just assume one Democrat, by saying he's going to vote no, that means, let's say Republicans, they're going to vote no. So that means Republican, they'll have 50 Republican, and one Democrat is going to vote against no, it will be 51 votes. So even if Vice President is going to vote, but he's not going to vote because it's not a tie. So already Republican will be able to win in the Senate. So the point is, Democrats are very powerful. So now Biden has to go in the administration to convince Senator Johnson, or I think that is Senator Johnson, to convince that particular senator to support the bill or the proposal of the stimulus to be that huge spend. Because not all Democrats, they support all much this big spending, big spending, big spending. So that's number one. So when it comes to a stimulus, so if Biden, you wanted the stimulus to go through, because the stimulus is not going to be by 51 votes. In order to vote for stimulus, and especially when it comes to the 1.9 trillion, it's not just the 51 votes. You need 60 votes. So it has to be bipartisan because it is related to budget. So if you want to go through that way, so administration, you have to compromise. Okay, they will tell you remove something so that you can be able to operate. So that's number one. So stimulus will be used as Republican will use stimulus. Obviously, there are a few things that they don't agree on how much you are going to spend. That is whether the president is a Republican or Democrats. There is a way of how Republicans are spending versus how Democratic are spending. And whether those kind of spending will be able to do. That's why if you go to the previous stimulus, why it was controversial, there was so many amount of billions of dollars they were going to do, maybe gender program in Pakistan or certain amount of thing in Israel. So where Republicans, they said, no, we are not going to vote for something to give all these billions to other countries, while Americans here, they don't have these kind of things. So the details of the bill, how much is it going to be overseas in those 1.9 trillion, while Americans are going to suffer here. So that will be something else, whether you have to convince a Republican to vote for that. And in order for them to vote for you, so you need like all 50 Democrats to vote for that, but you need 10 Republicans to be able to support you, which is another tough situation. So in order to do that, it comes to the issue of impeachment. All these things, they happen at the same time. Impeachment is starting on February 8, if not mistaken. Next week, the same week in February, you are starting stimulus or budgeting. On the same time, on the February, you are going to start the issue of immigration to be over there. So all this will be tied, like one comparing to another. You have to compromise. So this goes to the issue of impeachment. When it goes to the impeachment, there are two things you have to figure out. Number one, is it worth it? So let's take out our emotion. Whether you like Trump or don't like Trump. What is the purpose of impeachment? To take out the president. Is Trump a president now? No, he's not. So there is the issue of emotion. You want to protect or to make sure that Trump cannot be even able to run in the next election possible. But that one is going to delay and it's going to affect most of Biden's policies or Biden's plans, which is not important to deal with Trump at the moment. So if you want to succeed, there are certain things you have to let them go. Whether you like it or not, this is the fact. That's why Senator, I think Ron Paul, put the motion 2 days ago that it is unconstitutional to go and impeach someone who is a civilian, because Trump is not a president anymore. You impeach someone so that you can take him out of the office as a president. But the guy is no longer president. Why do we need to have this impeachment? So that brought a lot of big discussion. That's why if you follow if you are going to follow what we call the some of the Nixon, whatever, during the impeachment, because he decided to resign, it went through. That means you don't need to do continue with the impeachment if already someone has accepted to resign, but the person is no longer the president. So why do we need to continue to have the impeachment process? This is also of time. Even President Biden himself said, I know we are going to lose, but we have to continue anyway. Why are you doing that? Because in order to impeach a president, it will go to the House. In House, it's just, even if you have one more vote, is impeached. When it goes to the Senate, you have to get 2/3. By 2/3, you mean you have to get 67 votes. So you have 50 votes from Democrats. Let's say all Democrats are going to vote for that. You need 17 Republicans to go against Trump. So when Senator Ron Paul put that motion, it was discussed and they voted whether to continue or not to continue with the impeachment. They voted to continue. Obviously, all Democrats, they say we continue the impeachment. And only 5 Republicans voted that they continue. So 55 votes, they said yes, and the 45 Republicans said no. That is unconstitutional to continue with the impeachment of someone who is no longer president. And there is likeness, these 45 people, they'll continue to have that one because from day one they say this is unconstitutional. So if you're going to impeach these 45 people, they say is unconstitutional, yes, they will say, okay, if continue impeachment, we are going to delay this process. It will be the same way, and they are voting no. So obviously impeachment will not go through because you'll have 55 votes and not 67 to impeach President Trump. So if because of that, then you are coming again with the immigration. These 45 people, they are going to punish you back by boom. We are not, no matter what, it's politics. They are going to hold you accountable or just to delay you also not to succeed in the White House. So you have to let certain things go. That's why I say these 3 things, they are going together. But one good thing which President they are going to do, instead of taking the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021 in totality, the whole package, they have decided, they have agreed, Biden administration, they have agreed with the demand of other people that you have to take into smaller legislation. You cannot go to the Senate with the full package that I'm going to give 11 million people citizenship or green card. That is impossible. So for that particular case, next week they are going to take one part of just of legislation where Lindsey Graham and Durbin, they have coordinated together to bring the bipartisan, because it has to be bipartisan. So that one, it has to go, it will be comprising 2 items. Only the items of the dreamers or DACA, those who came here as children, and also the what we call TPS. TPS are the temporary protective status. So those will be the one who are going to be the first package of the immigration bill. So in order this one to pass, and you are going to do the impeachment, you have to choose which one do you want more. Do you want to impeach Trump for the second time, or do you want to have immigration changes? You can't have both. So this is something Democrats have to try to find out. How are you going to pass your things? How do you go to compromise? Because if you don't compromise with this one, and you want to have everything to be passed because you have 50-50, you have 1 vote, not all major legislations in the Senate go through 51 votes. Most of them, they require 60 votes or 2/3. Like impeachment is 2/3. You cannot go through. So you are wasting your time for over another discussion in the House, in the Senate, and just for what particular purpose are you going to benefit? So that is something I want people to understand. Like, there is a good news that the legislation is going to be into pieces. The first piece is that one. But the worst part will be, how are you going to collaborate with Republican and Democrats have to come together. In order to do that, you have to compromise. If these people, they say, don't go and the first day of the first thing you are going to do in the Senate, you are going to do the second impeachment, they will block almost everything you are planning to do for the rest of your 4 years. So that is something I want to make sure that people understand. Thank you and goodbye.